We work with the poor for their wisdom, not for their poverty. Access to right means I have a right, but I don't have access, which is meaningless for me. There was this lady which was 95-year-old in Rajasthan. We went to her and asked that for how long you haven't got the pension. She said, I haven't got my pension for ages. And everywhere they found that her money is even delivered to her. Post office, which was receiving to deliver her pension, that postman itself was eating her money by forging her signature and withdrawing the money. We became threatening to many middlemen. They still don't understand the necessity of becoming digitally literate to access all these things on their own. They only see digital literacy from the perspective that, oh, if my son and daughter can get, they will get a job or something. They don't see it as a role in their daily life. Unfortunately, even today, you go to any cluster in the country, in the remote area, they have wisdom, they have old skill, the old culture, old heritage, old tradition, old weaving, old everything. They are artisanal, but they are. But for us, we treat them as wisdom workers, knowledge workers. And therefore, we tell that, can we establish the center in this cluster? Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
Good, very good. Good weather, And since you have come all the way from Belfast, I'm feeling great that we have a visitor who is interested in our work, in our life, in our, progress. And yeah.
I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for giving time. I really appreciate it. And we will be here for 90 minutes at least.
Oh, really?
Maybe
90 minutes?
Maybe more.
You're going to do deep research.
yes. So that was the whole purpose of coming over here and sitting with you. Nice morning moment. It's wonderful breeze here. Nice background. I really appreciate the work you are doing. I would like to know more about how all this started. What was motivation? What encouraged you? And do you still have same passion as you had when you initiated this?
Yeah, I think passion hasn't decreased. That's the reason you are here, I'm sure. Otherwise, you could have far away saying, what happened to your passion, which was there 20 years back? Yeah, I mean, on paper, we had started Digital Empowerment Foundation in the end of 2002 and 2003. But actually, it had started in 2000 and 2001, 2000 around. And its infrastructure was built in the late 90s when I was a journalist in an IT magazine and learning internet. Since I don't come from a technology background, and since I don't come from even computer background or that or any of that, I come from a journalistic background, and most of the time when I was jobless and doing freelancing, my writing was mostly around grassroots and all that, and poor people. And so it was built around that one in terms of understanding how technology is progressing. And then I had about 2.5 year stint with .com with Hindustan Times, and then after that, did my own software company for a couple of years. So you can see that from print media in Technology Trade magazine, then from there to new media, which is .com, then from there doing enterprise in software, and without being a software engineer, progress was very strong. And but the big milestone was that when we wrote Internet Economy of India, the book in 2001, that gave me understanding of the role of digital divide, or the issue of digital divide, and also the relationship with it in terms of the poverty alleviation in India, and very strong, like nirvana kind of moment I went through in 2000, 2001 and 2 to when I realized that internet is agnostic of any caste, creed, religion. Anybody can adopt it. Anybody can be equally. Anybody can be classless. Any can be casteless. It is for all. So I found that it's a great tool in the hands of people if it is accessible and if it can be made reach there. And the second insight that I realized that most of the poverty alleviation related or poverty, I realized is not because of the lack of resources, but because of the lack of access to information about the resources. That was the moment of aha moment that so it's actually I have access to food, I have right to food, but I don't have access to food. So those kind of things, right, you have right to information but no have access to information. And that was actually the moment when I thought that let's do this for this one. And the third point was that I was actually self introspecting a lot and realized that whatever we do in life, we always try to acquire degree, acquire shohrat, acquire something or the other. It's acquisition mode. Everybody is working in acquisition mode. That was the time when I realized that I don't have to work for acquisition. I have to work for giving. And also giving is circular. So when you give, it comes back to you. That's the reason. So these three, four things together, we help to build Digital Empowerment Foundation. And also my partner in life, she agreed to, walk the path together. So we co-founded and started this. That was the motivation. Motivation was that how do we do access to internet and access to technology to be equal participation in the growth, and especially for the poorest of the poor. That was the motto, and that still is the motto. So as like the people say that poverty was there since the time of the Christ and it has never gone, so it will always be there. So as long as the poverty is there, I think we will continue to be passionate and continue to be working. We are very, very happy that it worked out well. Not all the not-for-profit organization work out very well, and we have been able to do good work in terms of taking technology in a frugal manner, but for larger purpose. So that's very important that we never concentrated on technology. We always concentrated on the purpose of technology and its usage. And we never used it as a technology. We used it as a communication tool, and that was very important for us, and we continue to do that. Yeah.
So you engage with most of the marginalized group, and if I understand correctly, more so in the rural context. Uh, what made you think more about marginalized communities first, and then also about rural and urban marginalization?
So that's interesting. Most of the people say that I work with poor because I want to give it back. I want to. So all those things that I don't find motivational enough. I had never taken anything that I have to give it back. So I always say that this is not giving back at all. Actually, this is continuation of the taking of knowledge and information and wisdom from the poorest of the poor. So in fact, if you have gone through the museum, you might have seen there is a quote written, we work with the poor for their wisdom, not for their poverty. For because we intrinsically believe, and we have found, I have personally found that I feel extremely at home with the poor people, because of their being non-judgmental, because of their humility, because of their traditional long cultural traditional knowledge about anything and everything that they do. The only big issue with the poor people is that we have made them to behave like a poor mentally also, not only financially, and it is dependent on the financial asset. Since they don't have financials in hand, therefore we call them poor. But I think the rich people are extremely poor in terms of every gesture and every virtue that I have told you. And the poor people are extremely rich in terms of their knowledge, their wisdom, their tradition, their culture, their artisanry, their knowledge, practices, food, anything and everything. And if at all they have become what do you call as non-poor and developmental, they have adopted all the wrong things. Something like using plastics and throwing without any
Sachet.
care for or the sachetization of life, or those kind of things. Yeah.
So in few documents and also on the website, sometimes it's mentioned that your object, your motto is access to rights and rights to access.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate that further?
So, access to right means I have a right, but I don't have access, which is meaningless for me. It is something like saying that we are a constitutional democracy, but we don't have a practice of that. It is something like saying, I will give you 5 examples. I have right to information, but unfortunately, I don't have access to information. I have right to food, but I don't have access to food. I have right to health, but I don't have access to health. I have right to finance and banking, but I don't have access to that. So there are many rights that the government has given, but they haven't given the access. It is something like saying that all the right to information, related information, is there on the website. Go and check it, and the website is only in English and Hindi, and it is almost inaccessible for the people who are oral.
Yeah.
So I don't have access in a way, because you haven't made it work for me. In my language, in my medium, in my area, in my geography, you haven't made it reach. That's what access to. I have right, but I don't have access to that. Then right to access. That means for the access that I need to exercise my right, I should have a right to that access also, which is internet, which is digital infrastructure, which is digital public infrastructure, which is a public access point in a digital format, because everything has become digital now. But I don't have digital infrastructure. I have to go miles and miles to get my ration. I have to go miles to get my bank. I have to miles to go to get my pension, and that too I get harassed. That too it is not available in my as per my comfort. I have to become literate. I need to buy 10,000 rupees mobile or 5,000 rupees mobile to access this, which I have a right. When you provide the right, then it is your duty to provide that to my doorstep. Actually, if you really say that, I am giving you a right to pension, you need to provide this as the pension to reach to you. But you make it so difficult for me.
So, since this is a motto of your organization and your personal compass, do you find this kind of initiative or motto help you discuss with potential collaborators, partners? Is this motto help you find the initial routine to start with discussion, partnering, going to government, advocacy, if you want to use that word? Does that really help you, or people ask you, since your motto is fairly, to some people appear like kind of activism, does that turn off some potential partner?
No, not really. Not at all. And not even government. Because the reason is that in India, it's a welfare country. Even at the end of anything that you look at, we are a welfare country. Our government announces that I want to give you 5 kg rice and thing, and you have all the right to have it. And if you really look at the whole country, if you go to southern country, they make it absolutely easy for the people to access it. The places where it is not easy to access is because of the corruption, and I don't think any government has ever said that we want to pursue this corruption and we don't want to overcome because of digital infrastructure not accessible or something. It's not, because the reason is that access to right And especially when you don't talk about freedom of expression, but you talk about provisions, schemes, entitlements, then in most of those areas, which is directly related to your right to livelihood, let's say, right to food is your livelihood, right to water is your livelihood, right to pension is your livelihood, right to your ration is your livelihood. These are very basic. Right to access your land records is your basic. In these, there are certain areas, and maximum of those areas, there is no. It is not seen as activism. It is seen as easing the service process. So our work is seen as enabling digital to ease the service process, which the government should have been doing, which they are doing, but in many places, because of various reasons, it is not properly done or not efficiently done, and therefore we are doing that, and they don't mind that if somebody is doing that.
So I'm trying to relate some of this to my own experience. So when I was following Common Service Center project,
Mhm.
uh, there were vested interest in the community who used to earlier control this information. Now, because of CSC, people can directly go to CSC and access the information. Not only local influential elites, but also sometimes government officials, because if people have to come to them for this information, they have some kind of leverage on the people. And those people initially tend to feel like threatened by initiation of CSC. Did you observe similar issues when you were initiating your projects in 2002, 2003?
Okay, so 2002 and 3, we were not even doing these kind of work. We were doing mostly research related work and writing related work and consultative work. But if you look at that advocacy tree,
Yeah.
you will see that we were one of the co-writers of the CSC program in 2007. So we were part of the design of service delivery of the CSC. But but let me tell you, CSC was the first step that the government had taken to ease the process of access to your entitlements and rights and right to information by provisioning CSC through the village level arm. But initially, in the first 5 years or whatever, it didn't work very well because most of the service provider companies who took the responsibility, they faded out because it was not sustainable. So there was a lot of issue on that. But having said that, if you look at the condition of the country and the level of poverty and the level of illiteracy and incapability in our country, even below CSC's existence, there is a huge population that do not know how to access their rights or their entitlements. So CSC also, even though it is supposed to be village level, if you go to most of the CSC, you will find that there is no work in enabling, in empathizingly motivating people to come. They are just a shop, they are there. If you come, I will give you service. And most of the services that they tend to give is a is let's say out of 350 entitlements, they might be giving 10 or 20 or something like that, which is top of the line, which is mostly top of the memory of the people and all that. There is no effort on mobilizing people that oh, you are a disabled person, oh, this is the right that why don't you come and take it. There is no mobilization on that one. And so therefore I would say that VLE's original idea to become a provision of access to information or access to your entitlements has really not worked from the perspective of maximizing the inclusion. It is still like you said, it is at a grassroots level, it still has a elite level of existence. And so that's number one. And that may be also the reason is that the popular ones are only available and the critical ones are not available, which may ask the question in a different manner. The third is government different body. They themselves started making many like NREGA is a big area, but for NREGA, then you don't go to CSC or anybody to get your NREGA payment. You just go there to see the payment has come or not, or something like that, or manage your bank account or banking. You go to the banking correspondent or something like that. But actually, to get the entire NREGA, there is a whole body itself. Panchayat itself is a body who is managing. Similarly, housing is a big area. So housing people, those middlemen who help you to get your house entitlements, they are not very happy with the CSCs of the world. They don't want them to ease it out. I see that in most of the many places, there is a bribe mechanism is happening, and people like that one because that ensures. CSCs of the world doesn't insure anything, right? And here we come, where we are mobilizers. We fill the form on behalf of the people, our centers, and we only charge, which is the minimum. We only charge for the service of our time that we give, and not as a commission to the scheme that you think. We became threatening to many middlemen. Yes.
That was my
Yes. There were people, and there was one example in Bihar where they, some people took away the electricity line itself, so that na bijli rahegi, na laptop chalega, yahan par kuch nahi hoga. But it was very few here and there. There was one incident in Rajasthan where somebody came who used to run what is called E-Mitra Center, which is the CSC of the state level CSC. And this guy says that, can you also make me Sushna Premier? I said, but you already have E-Mitra thing. Why are you asking us? So he said, actually, your center people, when they process the paper and go to the block office to get their entitlements done, they hear you because they see you as a threatening to publicizing the non-delivery of services. But in our case, they charge goose. And because we are also in a way subsidiary of government, and the block office is also. So if you make yours, then they fear from you. Why? Because it's not about activism. It is about pure community service. Community is with us because we are solving community's problem of not access to entitlements. We are solving the problem of community, of the process and methodology to make it easy for them. And I will give you an example. There was this lady which was 95-year-old in Rajasthan. It was told by Shakti, one of our Sushnapreneur, a manager. And he said that we came to know about her and we went to her and asked that for how long you haven't got the pension. She said, I haven't got my pension for ages. And then they started investigation. They took all her papers. They checked it out everywhere. And everywhere they found that her money is even delivered to her. And she was claiming that she hasn't taken the money. Then they went through, when the paper was submitted, when the money was released, when the signature of receipt was happened. So it happened that the post office, which was receiving to deliver her pension, that postman itself was eating her money by forging her signature and withdrawing the money. And our people then told the postman that we will make it public and all that, and then he begged that कि हमारी नौकरी और इज्जत दोनों चली जाएगी, we will be really defamed here and all that. So he returned the money. He returned the whole money to that lady. So I mean, you call it activism, you call it service. Government can see or the middlemen can see, but they also fear at some level that who the masses are with. Therefore and if you read our researches about Sushna Prince, you realize that their connection with the community, their social good, and their social capital is very high. Because we always choose the person as Sushnapreneur, or the person who run the center at the grassroots level is from the village itself.
But it takes time to build the trust and social capital and reputation. When you initially began your work, do you recall of that time? incidents where you had strong opposition from vested interest, some government official. Eventually, of course, you develop trust, and of course, you have community behind you. But when you entered initially, you must have faced those kind of challenges.
I will divide this into three parts. Initially, we got a position where we were doing a lot of entitlement delivery, but very few. But what we learned is that when you put up a digital center uh, with education as a primary service, then there is no. Everybody loves it because everybody wants their children to become digitally literate. They want to know their children to become computer literate, and they want them to know this modern technology and all that. So that was the first yes. That our entry point. The second thing we learned is that if the person who is running the center is from the local community, then half or 80% of your job is done. The third part we learned, if it is a lady, then it's the lady who is actually the household manager, and she is the person who is the primary person to access entitlements, and where the entitlement will be really good for the house and household. Then it became very popular when the girl started becoming Sushnapreneur or the person. So all this you can say that we learned in about from the process of 2007. We had the first center. In 2011 or 12, we had gone to about 12 or 13. We went from suddenly 50 centers, and after 50 centers we never looked back. Now we have 2,500. But in those period, we learned from CSCs also. We learned from Common Service Center. We learned from general digital literacy campaigns. We learned from our own mistakes that we were paying to the person who was running the center, and it was not working out. It has to be an entrepreneurial model. The third thing we also learned that once you start education service, you gradually then keep on adding other things, right? Because then you become already a accepted entity in the village and the community, that this is good for the community itself. And the most important part is that, which you can say that it worked out very well from the counseling perspective, is that then we started hiring or choosing people who run the center by organizing FGDs at a village level, and ask them to propose few CVs or few people who you think is entrepreneurial, who is very well known, who is young, who is accepted, who is empathetic, who is social, and all those. There is a whole psychometric tools that we have, that basis of which we choose. But it is usually supposed to be proposed by the villagers, and therefore it becomes a community center and all that. And if you read our various impact study, you will see that our Sushnapreneurs are so proud of their work, is that they call that, no, we don't want to leave it, because now I am known as laptop Didi, now I am known as digital Didi, now I am known as mobile Didi, now my husband is known by my name, and I am much more independent, and all those things. So it has created a very strong ecosystem of an empowerment of a person who is not worked on the trust of the people, but people have entrusted the trust on her, or on the person who is running it.
I think I totally understand the model of going with women, because in many cases there are much large number of schemes available for them. They are the people who are slightly more marginalized compared to other groups. However, at the same time, it's very difficult for outsiders as an organization which is not from the village or nearby villages to be able to approach to women, because sometimes men feel quite not certain about it. So you choosing going with women as a uh, Sushna entrepreneur or otherwise other contact point, how difficult it was earlier for you to reach out to those women in rural community?
I would say that initially most of them were men, and it didn't work out and all that. And then out of some of them, some were women who themselves started showing that they were doing very well. This is after we made it entrepreneurial. There was a phase which was all paid for. The person used to run was supposed to be a salaried person, and we learned that that it was not working, because after the finishing of the project fund, we were unable to pay, and then the center started getting closed, or very few centers were sustainable. And then this idea came is that we need to make it entrepreneurial, and where every service is supposed to be paid for, and the person has to do that. But in many areas, and most of the areas in the northern part, or deeper part, not the tribal, like in Jharkhand and all that, they are happy that women takes a lead. That's for some reason. But if you go to, let's say, Bihar, or North Bihar and the North Bihar, you'll see that they will say that कि आप औरत को क्यों ले रहे हो, लड़के को दे दो मोबाइल, उसको दे दो सब कुछ, give it to the male person in the house or village or whatever. But we learned that our offering itself should be treated as a scheme. It's like government comes out with a scheme. No? They say that there is a 33% reservation in the panchayat for women. Then the government says that this scheme is only for women. This is for pregnant women. This is for this. So what we started saying, that this Suchna Perennial Center is a scheme only for women. So that actually treated that there is no flexibility. Then people started saying that, okay, you can take this girl or that girl and all that. But what worked very well in favor of women without too much of question is that we are bringing the business on the doorstep of the girl, and we are not saying girl to leave the place and go to block office or somewhere else, right? So a woman getting a job in the village itself was a big favorable thing, that people took it as a step ahead or a step forward, that मेरे घर में भी लड़की काम करती है, now she has a little power and things like that, as power structure. The third thing what we realized, which is our thing and not their thing, is that, which was very important, is the complete change of attitude if the woman is running a center and the man is running a center. Men is mobile, men is hyperactive, men leave, men look for bigger job or something. So they are always in search of. So they are never trusted for having this for a long term, right? And just reverses with them. They are not mobile. They don't want to go to faraway places. They want to be local. They want to, and because of that, lots of people come to the center. Women come to the center. Old men and women come to the center and all that. Third, all the girl students start coming there in the center to learn computers. Fourth, we also found that when we started looking at the reporting, women were meticulous. They were responsive. They were very prompt. They were accountable, responsible. And the last thing, what we realized, is that the woman who is earning the money, then the money is getting utilized properly for the domestic usage, rather than the men earning. Because before, in between their money in the hand and what reaches home, there is a huge gap in the amount itself. And that woman started liking it, because at the end of it, it was the household that is it is the household that is run by women and not by men, and in many cases, it also became aspirational for men also, कि हमारे घर की औरत काम कर रही है, हमारे it's better that one of our women is working and I'm also working. It worked out. So it also shows that the stigma was not so hard in most of the villages, that people will say, we did receive this, that, why don't you choose men and all that. But we overcame, I won't say with too much of difficulty. Because when we said that, we said one thing as a breakaway point, is that, listen, if you are not going to allow this to happen to your women, We have lots of other poor villages where we will go. You will be only deprived. And that also worked out as a trigger.
A bad thing being academics, we always ask cross questions. So let me ask follow cross questions. So in many villages, normally you find at home the beti has more right than Bahu. So if you go to a house, and if you must choose a woman, normally family tendency is that हमारे बच्ची इज मोर लिटरेट पढ़ी है बहुत तो ऐसी हमारी घर का काम करती है वाई डोंट यू गिव चांस टू बेटी द प्रॉब्लम विद दैट इज इफ यू गिव चांस टू बेटी get married and go somewhere else.
Yes.
So there is no continuity. If you're trying to get to Bahu, there are much difficult layers of access to Bahu.
Yes.
So how did you, whom you select and how you select?
I don't know. We might have to go to our data much more intrinsically. I may not have that answer, but what I have an answer to this question is that in unmarried versus married was the data that was showing that when we were having an unmarried woman taking up a center, our managers and our coordinators said that, okay, sir, we should take married only. Whether it is Bahu or Beti or whatever, but take married. Because if you are married and you are here, that means you belong to this place and you will stay here. So migration was an issue as much as migration or leaving was an issue. But this issue, I don't know if the girl coming from the house is that. Because we are also not going to the parents to ask, by the way. I am talking about you have to come to get this job. While we are asking the rest of the people to suggest कि कुछ नाम आप बता दो, it is like giving reference. That doesn't mean that we are saying कि I need your daughter to run this, I need your bahu to run. No, not at all. That means we already choose that person who has crossed first few level of this trustship or also this kind of activism. I think she already crossed that, but it's her job to fight her own parents and fight her own house and fight, because as I said earlier, we are looking for somebody who has a very strong social capital. तो सोशल कैपिटल आपके घर में बैठे तो मिलेगा नहीं. द वुमन हु इज एक्चुअली गोइंग आउटसाइड एंड वर्किंग ऑलरेडी एंड टॉकिंग टू पीपल विल हैव अ सोशल गुड. नो, otherwise people will say that ये तो this woman doesn't even get out of her house, how can you give her a center? People itself will say. So we don't even go that level of thing. So many of our, if you go through the biodata or the background of our women Suchanapreneurs, you will find that some of them might be from ASHA workers earlier or extended. Some of them would be SHG group members. So that means they have already some kind of experience or mobility or understanding. Some of them would be 30 plus for a woman in a village is a very mature age, because of early marriages. So we will also find that she's already had kids and she is active and she has shown and all that, and she knows the things around. She has volunteered, she has done something or the other, and some of it also comes from that we give preference to if you are 10th class, 12th class or pass and you are still in the village and you have studied, because studying itself is a fight in a village.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have already gone through this level of education, you have already crossed many barriers of social stigmas. Yeah.
You mentioned the previous response. People feel proud about their women because they are now computer women or laptop women, and they have achieved slightly better social status. However, the research on microfinance is quite contradictory. In microfinance, even though they bring money, but most of the money is spent by their husband or male member of the family. So in that sense, this woman spending more time because they have to still do their regular work, also work towards the microfinance initiatives, and money is taken by man. That means if they cannot pay back the interest or original loan, the stigma is with them, benefit is with men. So ultimately, in terms of their various social psychological outcome, including increase of violence in the family, goes against those microfinance women. So, do you see at least to some extent similar phenomena in case of your Sushna
No,
program?
actually, that's a very good study that we can do. But what immediately comes to my mind is that the Sushnapreneur lady
Yeah.
has a lot of agency. You know, unlike comparison to, let's say, banking correspondent lady, or let's say even SHG person, because SHG persons are the money savers,
Correct.
and then they are getting into a business. These people are in the business of social provision, social good. That's a very strong agency. I am not doing it for myself is always the goal. I am doing it for you. In that process, I get some money, right? So this requires a very strong agency and motivation and dedication and conviction, that I am a person in a village. I know that chachi, that auntie has not come last month to get her pension. I must find out what, and then go and find out. And it looks like that, some hanky panky is going on and she is unable to get, then convince her to come to the center, then tell her that I will fill up your form. In many cases, I know that, and because most of our Sushnapreneurs are banking correspondents also, so you can imagine the level of trust, because they are giving the cash from the pocket to you, and they are opening your bank account. You don't know what is left in your bank account in the statement, but this guy knows, because he knows how to read and write, but she doesn't know. So she will ask how much money is there, and he says that 3,000 rupees. Okay, give me 1,000. And then he says that, okay, bank ATM I had not gone today, so I haven't brought from the bank. So you take it 1,000 from my pocket. I will take it from your account later. That level of trust, because that person has nowhere to run off to. So this agency is so high, that I think maybe you can also find out some of our Sushnapreneurs have been asked by the community to contest Sarpanch election. Yes. To demand by the people to contest Sarpanch election is a different than I choose myself to become a, contesting person from a certain party to, to be a panchayat leader. So you can, what I'm saying is that the USP of this model is in the psychometric tool that we use to choose the person to run this center, which is actually a conversion of information into commodity, service into trust, and accountability and responsibility into a business.
I think I was trying to compare two different from microfinance and the another project. I think partly already got answer for the second comparison. Nevertheless, I will still ask you the second comparison. Second comparison is about, you must have heard about Shakti project, right? Shakti Amma by Hindustan.
Yes, HLL. Yes.
So the idea there was to bring various FMCG goods to women, shampoo, soap, and all those things. And that woman will leverage her social network in the village to sell this product.
Yeah.
And they had carefully chosen the woman which is very well connected in the village.
Right.
Sometimes from the marginalized group, but not necessarily. The idea was they considered women as marginalized group as a whole. So if they are rich or poor doesn't really matter. But goal was to bring these goods to her house, and then she will use her social capital or social connection to sell this product. Now, I followed that project for 2.5 to 3 years.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, various part of it. And I interviewed, of course, when you're with the HLL person, they always talk good about it. If you are not with them, these women are saying that, initially people talk to me because I'm selling something new. Over time, whenever they come, I push some product to them. Eventually, many of my contacts start avoiding me. So not only she is not better off economically, she is worse off socially, right? So there is this aspect of losing your ties because you have become now entrepreneur and pushing your project. I got the answer partly, but I will still want to hear from you. How different is your model from that model?
Yeah, for the sake of record, I will say, but you got my answer already, because here, there is a very clear difference is that here I am treating you as a consumer to buy a product that I am selling. It has nothing to do with your skill of entrepreneurship, right? In other case, it's an entrepreneurship of solving your problem, your need, actually not desire, need. When you sell something, then you are actually selling on the basis of the desire, not need. What is my product in my Sushnapreneur's product? I am selling you your need, which you haven't even exercised. I'm even letting you know what is your rights, what is your things. The second thing, I am also minimizing your cost of buying or cost of ownership. Because earlier we used to travel 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers or even 2 kilometers, right? In many cases, your day wage is lost, your time is lost, your izzat is lost also, because you get mistreated when you go to the kiosk to get service. They don't treat you well. There is a serious class difference and all that, and they treat you like you're like a beggar. You stand in the queue, and then there is always a possibility that they will say computer is not working, do come tomorrow. Then your whole day is wasted, right? For what? For just one pension. And at the end of it, you are also don't know how to fill the form. So there is a complete, so you lost money, you lost travel cost, you lost so many, and what you get? Nothing. Here, you are not losing your daily wage, you are not spending money on your travel, and then you are getting a human being who understands your problem to give the money of your right only, and he doesn't even claim that मैंने दिलवा दिया है तुमको. The person or the she Sushnapreneur or he Sushnapreneur, they will tell you that, पहले क्यों नहीं बताया? Why didn't you tell us earlier that you were not getting it? I could have done it. So there is a difference between the two. At one place, it is your right that is we are making it convenient for you to avail it. And I am making some money into that one. Like when you withdraw money, I always get my percentage. Not from you, from some bank. When you fill a form and goes, there is photocopy required. There is the hundreds of things required. I earn money from there. So there are lots of ways that I am earning money. And then since you are happy, you also give me that time service, that I filled up your form and this and that. So you give a little money. Plus, I have told you so much that you didn't even know in many cases. So it's a complete empowerment and agency creation in one area. In the other area, you are coming with soap. I don't even need soap. You're trying to sell me soap. I don't need shampoo. You're trying to sell me shampoo. I may need it, but if I need it, it's not my right. No, it's my need or desire. It's not the need because of which I cannot.
Good. I thought so.
Yeah.
I will ask you last question on the social issues.
Yeah.
Then I will turn towards more technological aspect. So I gather one of the criteria you use for Sushnapreneur is also how marginalized they are. So does caste play any role or any other attribute of women play any role?
Yes,
Selection process?
100% it plays role. 100% flows, and therefore our criteria, not because of the casteism, but the criteria like the way government has created doles on the basis of marginalization of caste also, right? There is a reservation, then there is this, most of the poor people you will find that they are either from the Dalit community or OBC community or minority community or tribal community. Our criteria is the same, that the person who will run the center must come from these backward communities. It is 100%, right? Or women from the same, because it gives them agency also to understand the loss of agency among the same community, because of which you have not been getting. Because all your centers, where there is block office, you will find that it's mostly a caste upper than you who is providing the provisions, or you are doing your work. So there is a hesitation also and all that. And I remember one thing, one or two incident here and there. I was in Badmer, and I was in one of the centers, and I asked that earlier this center used to run by an upper caste person. Now that you are running, do you see the difference? He said, yeah, a lot of difference. Now most of the lower caste people come very very easily, and they come and they get their done work done. Earlier they used to feel frightened to come to the center. But other observation he also said that now many upper caste people come because they know that coming here is easing their process, but they will not touch anything. They will not touch my water bottle, glass or something. They will not drink water here. They will not do all those things. They said that. The second question I asked, and this is a question that I asked him about 5 years back, 5 or 7 years back, that you are having a center here and your reach is about 510, because Barmer is one of the largest district in terms of area of the country. So there the villages are far away from each other. So I said that from the place this you have a lot of dhanis and all that, you have access to all of this. Tell me an imagination that you are giving the service for a few years. When do you think that these people will not come to you because they are going to be enough digitally literate, enough critically literate to manage their own mobile, to access everything that you are giving on their own? He said 50 years. I said, why? He said, you have no idea of our inertia level of our poor people. They still don't understand the necessity of becoming digitally literate to access all these things on their own. They only see digital literacy from the perspective that, oh, if my son and daughter can get, they will get a job or something. They don't see it as a role in their daily life. See, imagine, this is such a, this is a great insight for me to think that this Sushnapreneur Center will work for the next 50 years or 100 years. But it's a bad news that, that our poor and poverty-stricken people still haven't got the idea that critical digital literacy is the basic. They still don't understand.
I could have asked a question on social aspect for entire day, but we have multiple other interesting topic to explore. So I'll probably move slightly towards implementation part. So remoteness of a region has a dual aspect. One is people of those areas are the one who have been in some way, because of geographical location, most marginalized from the scheme and government. So they need this kind of connectivity more urgently. On the other side, flip side, these are the places where there is no infrastructure. So sometimes not even electricity, sometimes no connectivity. So why we are choosing your project locations? What role remoteness play?
Oh, remoteness excites us.
Okay.
Oh, it's exciting, it's adventurous, and it's purposeful, because we are not working for technology. No, we are working for the poor people to make it convenient for them to access their rights, access their needs and all that. And that is digitally enabled now. I cannot get anything that I want in my life today. That is the way it is created. It is the legislation, rules, regulations, even the pervasiveness of digital has happened in such a way that now everything is dependent on digital. So that's one parking. Put that into a parking lot. Now, you know that telcos of the world, anywhere in the world, it is the telco who has the responsibility to take the connectivity to any person. Now, unfortunately, there is no not-for-profit organization working in the area of telco. It is such a disaster. It's something like you are saying is that, like Indian government, they created Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Prime Minister's Village Road Scheme or something like that. It translates to English, right? Why did they create? Because most of the road was happening in a manner of business, right? You give the tender and then they will lay, and most of it was happening at busy areas and all that. Who will connect the villages? That's the reason government decided that we need to create road under a special scheme they created. Unfortunately, in the telco area, there is no such scheme is created where NGOs can be allowed to put the last mile connectivity, even though we have BharatNet and everything. But telcos are not interested because it doesn't make money to them. Going to a village, laying millions of rupees of fiber, and then you have 5 people to access. But these five people are spread so much that they are the 65% of the country, rural population. Now, coming to actually why do we go is purely because of this reason, is that the more remote you are, the more deprived you are. The more remote you are, the more poor you would be. The more remote you are, the more backward you would be. The more remote you are, more uneducated you would be. The more remote you are, more exploited you would be. More unknown you would be. It's something like you have got a natural right of being forgotten. So it's something like that. So that excites us a lot. And why it also excites that we figured out of frugal technologies to connect them. Wi-Fi, unlicensed spectrum, unused towers, natural heights as a connectivity point. So we figured out many things with things. So we realized that the more remote you are, the more viable your business is. The business of socialpreneur is more viable the more remote you are. Because then only you are making this point that you will spend so much of time and money to get your. When I am already at your doorstep, so all these problem is solved for 5,000 of the people in that area, or 2,000, or even 500, right? Which was very high. So access to, in fact, there was an article that I had written in my column in Mint, is that the cost of a photo estate copy for a rural person is 250 rupees per page.
Because of travel and
Yeah, but because of the inclusion of all the hidden costs, opportunity cost and everything, travel, everything. But that's exactly what it is. So you make the same rice available to the person much costlier. You make the water available to the same person much costlier. Everything. And for us, just because the volume game is very easy in urban areas, you are giving them water free, electricity lower cost, everything, all these things. Photocopy 50 paise, wahan pe they charge 5 rupees or 10 rupees per page.
I would like to slightly elaborate more on this. So I was third time in Chanderi, following a community radio in the area, and I have seen multiple community radio functioning in a plain area because of transmitter constraint which government imposed. It can only cover 15-kilometer radius from the community radio station tower. However, in the Chanderi area, because of a hilly structure, it hardly goes beyond 2 or 3 kilometers. So there's a constraint on account of geography as well. I understand your wireless for community is a unlicensed, use an unlicensed spectrum, but it requires line of sight
Yes.
communication. So while Barmer and Jaisalmer is a wonderful place because they can be very long sight of communication. If you're working in a hilly area, the same device, same equipment will be not as easily implemented, or will require multiple tower to achieve same effect. So if you have option of going into easily, although still remote, but easily implementable area with same resources versus another one which require more resources to cover same number of population, shouldn't you be going to a place where it's easy to implement and get more number of people included?
I don't know if that is even a applied question to us, because like I told you and I showed you in other thing, is that our job is to work in the area of depravity, but you can say lucky and unlucky both. Lucky mostly is that there is always an area of depravity even in the most easy area of access in India. So let's say there is a district which does not fall into aspirational district, or earlier let's say it was not falling into backward districts. There used to be a fund called Backward District Region Fund, BRGF, Backward Region Grant Fund. It used to be provided to all the backward districts, about a crore or extra, or 5 crores to that district for being underdeveloped. Now government changed that to aspirational district and minimized the number also. It is now 125 or something districts. So if you are not an aspirational district, you are not a backward district. But even here sitting in near Pondicherry in Tamil Nadu, if you go to many area here, you will find that there are many tribal areas, hilly areas, and they are not even counted aspirational. But you go there and you find that there is a lot of depravity there also. So there is always a corner in every, not so backward districts, and that is how we do. So, and we are dependent not for profits. We are always dependent on grants and all that. So if the grant comes, let's say the grant is coming from a company who is a telco company and whose office is in Bangalore, they say that, can you find your definition only, but close to that. They might say that. So then we go to the similar kind of place, which in comparison to all our other project is easy, but we will find the difficult area in that easy area also. So we will go to Ramgarh near Bangalore, which is very difficult to area. In that area we will go and find out, or some plateau area or some corner or something, but we will find out. So we have this mechanism and we have this demographic details of our country, which we try to fit into the given fund, given geography and all that, which that it should be backward, it should be marginalized, it should be poor. I would say poorest of that area, unreached of that area, or something like that.
At the expense of annoy you further,
No,
please let me ask another question. So most of the NGO, social organization, even social enterprises, always have struggle in terms of resources. They have limited resources. The problems are huge. Country is big. Issues are multifold. So if you have limited resources, and if you can help 1,000 people, but in relatively easier area, versus 100 people in relatively very difficult areas, why wouldn't you choose to help 1,000 people in easier area?
No, but that is not the conviction with which we had started the organization. So I always say in my management meeting, in my what you call an inspirational meeting, or any of those meetings that we do, we always say that we are for the people. People are not for us, and we also don't have to play God, that we will solve everybody's problem and we will solve the poverty problem. What is the, poverty is a part of humanity. It will always be there, because people, human beings are like that. There will always be a comparative poverty. There will always be a different kind of poverty. There will always be there. So we are not playing God, number one. Number two, we are certainly, our ethics are in place, where we know that how do we have to work. We don't have to satisfy ourselves. In fact, we have to satisfy ourselves by making that satisfaction to the poorest of the poor as a means to our satisfaction. That is there. That basics are there in the organization. So it is inculcated across the board, that everybody will come and say that that's more needy place, let's go there. That's more needy place, let's go there. Now coming to the resource, I have a certain, there is two part to that answer. One part is that I have 1,000 rupees to spend. I will choose a difficult area only to spend. That is very clear among us. That's that goal. But I'm saying in 1,000, you can do only so much. So are we resource deprived? I will say no, we are not resource deprived, because we are not playing God. We are saying that jitna paisa aega, whatever money you are giving, you are spending. We are the custodian of the resources. We are not the resources is not for us. I mean, we are part of that expense, but the expense is not for us only. So we are not working to sustain the NGO, sustain our organization. We are here to sustain the cause to be overcome. In that process, if we are meaningful, we exist. If we are not meaningful, we better be not existing. And it had happened at the time of COVID. At the time of COVID, we had a certain few months of calling that we might not exist anymore because there might be not enough resources. And then there was another challenge, is that how do we work in a closed world? And then we converted that also as an opportunity. So there is this, I would say that we think out of the box all the time. And that really helps us to do right weight of things in a lower manner. So if somebody is sponsoring or giving money for 3 centers, we'll create 5 centers. If somebody is in 10 centers, we'll create 20 centers. We have this very strong, mechanism of thinking out of the box, how to do it. Yeah.
I have one more question on skill and resource, and then I will go to few abstract question. Uh, in non-technical field, there has been numerous cases documented where external resources, when they are dumped on community, the use of local resources becomes not very useful for people, and over time, those local resources die out. And then eventually, any help from any NGO or international organization eventually runs out. And when that runs out, the community is worst off because they have not leveraged local resources, or local resources are no more available. Um, External resources are no more coming to them. They have neither internal nor external support. To give an example, when I was growing up, in most of the villages, there used to be rita tree. People used to just take the fruits, boil it, and then was shampoo for it. When sachet came into the in the community, those trees became useless. So they cut down and burned it and use for other means. Now, if they want to decide to go back, it will take at least 10-year lead time to grow that tree and get those fruits. Right? So now their local resources destroyed, and external resources are maybe not useful or costly or whatever. So when you enter a village, what is your philosophy in terms of local resource and skills?
Okay, wonderful. So this we have a very well done example. I don't know. I told you yesterday, but I will repeat that there is a professor and researcher, Dr. Andrila, who has done a research on DEF and categorized and said that DEF is a bricolage organization. That means we use the existing resources around, both physical, psychological, mental, all kind of things, to do our job. So that's an answer at a organizational level. But at this level also, what we do is that, like I told you earlier, the person who is running a center is from local. That's a local resource, local mind, local knowledge resource, right? Local service resource. Second, the center, physical center, there is no rental. She or he provides that place from her side. That's her contribution, right? Third, if the center is very big, she cannot. We go to the panchayat or any existing community place, ask them to contribute their space. They provide their space. Even the latest, a DPI project that we have got from Department of Telecom. It's a pilot project which is going to be at 37,000 location, and its name is Phygital Samriddh Village. The Phygital word also they took from our advocacy and all that. So it's a pilot that we are doing, and you know what? The project has inbuilt into it that everywhere the panchayat will provide that space, and we as an implementer, we will create that as a enterprise which should be running on its own in less than 2 years, because they went through studied our Sushnapreneur model, that if that can be sustainable, why not any Samriddh village or the model village or a smart village project can be. It has to be sustainable. So we always use the local participation and resource mingled with this one. And yet, we call Sushnapreneur as an independent enterprise. It's a micro, nano, social, digital enterprise, and the person is micro, nano, social, digital entrepreneur. In short, Sushnapreneur. In short, information entrepreneur. The person is information entrepreneur. How many people in the world have you ever heard that the person who is selling information is an entrepreneur? Except journalists.
Slightly more follow up on this, because one dimension I think I couldn't emphasize earlier. So, in terms of resource, in the sense building and other infrastructure, but also do you leverage indigenous knowledge in some way or other?
Yeah, very good, very good. Thanks for reminding me. I could have included it. If you see many of our byproducts or by projects, you must have seen that we do Digital Artisans of India project. We do GI project. We like Chanderi, where you had gone. That was completely unlike of typical Sushnapreneur. It was in a GI location, which is Chanderi Sari and Chanderi Silk. It was in a weavers location. All the people who are there, beneficiary or whatever you can call them, community, are the weavers community, which is what? It's a tradition, it's a knowledge, it's a wisdom, it's a culture, it's beauty, it's fashion, it's weaving, it's cloth, it's everything of that area that you are saying. That is leveraging. So what we do is that we always look for the wisdom part of the poverty in that area. So let's say if I have to do a Sushnapreneur in a certain area and that's poor, our team member will ask, do they have any cluster there? Do they have any GI location there? Do they have any kind of very unique business that they do or something? So we are not negating that they are not poor, but apart from being poor, do they have some kind of thing which can be leveraged? Because unfortunately, even today, you go to any cluster in the country, in the remote area, they have wisdom, they have old skill, the old culture, old heritage, old tradition, old weaving, old everything. They are artisanal, but they are poor. In fact, their poverty is much more harsher because they don't know anything apart from selling and buying, and they are still poor, right? And yeah, they are like laborers, although they are the scientists actually. They are the knowledge workers. They are the designers. और सब दिमाग में चलता है उनके. Everything is in their design is in their mind.
No blueprint.
Yeah, no blueprint. But unfortunately they are not treated. But for us, we treat them as wisdom workers. We see them as knowledge workers, and therefore we tell that, can we establish the center in this cluster? And because of that, in the last 5 years, this concept among Sushnapreneur has increased to create a parallel area of concentration to work in GI locations, work in clusters. For example, one big project that we are doing called Udyami project in West Bengal and Assam with 4 more partners. We are creating 20,000 women entrepreneurs into digital integration. And they are existing entrepreneur, by the way. We are not making them entrepreneur. We are making them successful entrepreneur, I would say, or upgraded entrepreneur, or entrepreneur 2.0, you can say. But not that we are bringing an absolutely fresher to become an entrepreneur.
Some hypothetical questions. So if you want to ignore them, perfectly fine with me. Suppose you have 3 different way of implementing a project, 3 different way in the sense technological way, and there may be lots of social ways of doing, but 3 different technological way of doing it. One is very low tech, might or might not have enough capability in the sense of high tech features and all those things, versus you have a moderate technology which help achieve many goals, but might be costly for implementation. And third is very high tech technology which are cutting edge, global advanced, and suppose you have funds available to implement that, but people may not be able to use it very well because they don't have that capability to use them. So those three, first one is very low tech, uh, managed with mostly local resources, and you have enough fund, but it might not deliver all the goals you might have in mind. Moderate, the second one, moderate. Um, you can barely manage funds to implement that, but you have enough to be able to implement, and it achieves most of the goal, but not all of the goal. People might be able to use it after long training. Versus third one, cutting edge technology, externally funded, so fund is not a problem. It achieves all possible goals you might have in mind. However, people might not be able to use it because they lack the skills to use that particular technology. Out of those three, which will be your choice of implementation?
Always low tech.
And can you slightly more elaborate for purpose of my recording?
No, no. So always low tech is purely because of its sustainability, its adoption level, its management level, and it actually solves the larger population of the community. Purely because of it. So it's very selfish way of saying that. For example, let's say if pure just connectivity, let's say, and a set of a smartphone can solve 100 problems, but just for 102 problems I need 5 more machines. I will not take that one, right? So it's frugal technology, frugal implementation, frugal way of managing, and hyper local ownership should be there. And we have done this because, for example, when we had started, it was used to be a desktop mostly, which was energy guzzling kind of thing. But we shifted to laptop because it naturally gives you 1 or 2 hours of backup time. Then we shifted to mobile because it gives more backup time and more charging facility, much easier and all that. And we also realized that electricity is not required as much as we think that it is required, because nobody can work on a laptop, on a computer 24 by 7. You only need to work 2-3 hours, right? To get the job. So why are you struggling so much to have such a large infrastructure? But I would say that we have a hub and spoke model also, where we say that when you are doing a large project where heavy machines and this may be required, for example, let's say you need ATM, let's say you need a health ATM, let's say you need a health checkup machinery. All this may not be just possible with just one device. So there is a model where we know that hub center will have the larger, bigger, and more infrastructure facility, but the remoter person or a Sushnapreneur connected to one hub center will have the lower and low tech enabled facility, which you can walk through. In fact, actually, we always think that is the technology has a mobility or not, and carryability or not, or portability or not. The more it is, the better it is. And also, one thing for us is very, very important, that the technology should work irrespective of the medium, irrespective of the language, irrespective of the consumption capacity of the people. It should work, and that's the reason why the Sushnapreneur trust is very important, because that person is in a way multilingual, multi-digital, multi-everything, and you just have to trust that person.
I know I have taken more time than I asked.
And lately, just to complete the cycle, we have also come to a point that completely digital is a disaster. It must be phygital. And for us, the lady Sushnapreneur or the person Sushnapreneur is the physical, and the technology that the person integrates for the sake of the people is digital. So it's a physical and digital, which is phygital, is going to work for the long term, because the more we are getting connected, the more we are getting caught in the web of misinformation, fake news, hate speech, surveillance, data theft, and all those things. And that is going to be disaster for the people who are actually not hyper digital or hyper connected.
I know you are very passionate about the fake news part, but That's a very different topic. I would love to come to that in some future point. At this point, I'm looking for more on your selection of technologies. The first part I talked about is three different technology and different capability, different level of um, sophistication. Uh, I have follow-up question on that. Is there are three different technologies. One is not very capable in the sense of um, bandwidth and other processing power, but it's a modular, so you can change each part if you want to in future. The second is very sophisticated technology, not modular, but somebody else is giving you to implement. So there's no cost involved on your part. And then third is modular, but not to the extent of the first one, but also very costly. So if you have these three type of technology available, which one you will choose and why?
I think we will choose the technology that is more give us complete control of managing it. So even if it is high cost but not modular or not, I mean more like very stratifying, uh, we may not take it because we may not be able to manage it even if it is given free to us. And it has happened with us that I still have one donation of a very costly virtual reality spectacle that we have. We have not been able to use it. It came free. We got one of the very powerful machine we have not been able to use because managing that is very, very difficult. We want, but yes, that may be required by a person who is a high-tech manager in our office or something, which is absolutely fine because, for example, we have our own data center. We have our own data, I mean, dedicated server. We manage that, right? But for that, we don't go to the village to manage or something. We manage it because it requires a high tech knowledge and all that. But that is only one part of it, because where we can keep data and where we can keep data safe and secure and all. That's why we have got it. So my quick answer and short answer is that we will always go for the technology which is frugal and always go for the technology that we can manage on our own in terms of its regularity, in terms of regular services. Right? Just because somebody gives me an expensive and very powerful machine, but I don't know how to manage, I will not go for it. And if it doesn't solve my problem, my business is, to overcome poverty. My poverty alleviation is my main business. My business is not to be become favoritism for a certain technology versus other. For example, I'll give you a open source versus, let's say, proprietary technology, right? All my friends are in from open source, right? But we still use many proprietary like Microsoft Office and this and that and many things because they have given it free of cost to use. And open source, in this case, open source, even though it's open and used, I need a certain number of people to manage that, right? Because
Upgrades.
there are many things it requires. So my people doesn't do not go for that one. Now you can say that, oh, you guys are not activism and you are going for commercial, but I'm not going for commercial. I'm getting it free, and it solves my problem, and my problem is not to use Microsoft Office. My problem is that we use that to make documents and it's easily available, and it's free available, so I can make it.
Uh, last one, promise. Last question.
No, that's not a problem.
So you discuss about the control aspect because if a device or technology is modular, you can change which part you want to change instead of need to upgrade the entire thing. That's a control because you have better control on technology. Does any environmental aspect also makes
Yes, it does.
in your calculation?
Yes. It does. That's the reason why we have a division called Green Procurya, Digital Green Procurya Division, and we have a Makerspace Division. We have a Upcycling and Circular Economy Center under that one, where we have started getting computers, even if it's free, and we do refurbishing, we do recycling, we do reusage. we are going up to the level of completely ripping apart a computer, using its unusable hard disk in a separate manner, screen in a separate manner, keyboard in a separate manner, and whatever we cannot use, we are now making different kind of products, upcycling products. We are making it. So we are actually seeing very big environmental problem because of the heavy digitization. And unfortunately, digital is always seen as safe, environment friendly, and time saving and economical in many ways, which actually is not true. Digital is actually increased the cost and price of accessing the same information which you used to get earlier in much cheaper way. But having said that, we need to be very conscious and cautious of how much machine we are using, how much pollution we are creating because of those machines. And that we have adopted as a part of our organization in three terms. One is that practically doing it. The second is doing research about the environmental impact of the digital integration or digital usage. The third aspect is we are also trying to expand our e-waste collection and dispose process at Sushnapreneur level, at a village level, as a revenue generating mechanism. So it will be one of the services. In some places we have done a pilot and they are earning money out of it, to collect all the electronics and technological or e-waste kind of thing and sell it to the licensed and compliant organization who deal in e-waste and who process, who can buy. So they get money also, and they also collect it in one place.
I wanted to close with asking you what motivates you after two, because I think we already got the answer. You are very active, very passionate. Rather than closing with that, I will ask you a different question as a closing. You have been working with several scholars globally, and practitioners as well as policymakers as well. In your opinion, what these academics don't get it about implementing frugal technology or simple technology in marginalized context? What they get wrong?
I don't know about that, but I certainly say that, like any thing, it's an educational systemic problem. In the education sector, also, I see that people want to solve the poverty problem with expensive products, and therefore in academics also they want to do the research where the high tech is being used to solve the problem. And it is also because they want to themselves be in a comfort zone of those kind of big company who has invested in that area, maybe Oracle, maybe Microsoft, maybe Gates, maybe something or whatever, rather than somebody in the corner developing some technology which is solving some problem, because there is no hype there, no, because you are really not in a company of the elites. So I would say that even the researchers might be more influenced by the elitism of the company that they want to keep in their research. That may be the reason. Otherwise, actually, the invention is happening there. Why are they not doing it? It's also this. Any system you follow, it closes your mind. It's very difficult to think out of the box if you have gone through the educational system, which is the framework. I always tell people, listen, don't expect that the IIMs of the world and the Harvards of the world will solve certain problem, because they have been given the Excel sheet to think. So they think also within the Excel sheet or within the PowerPoint or within the framework that they have been told. They don't go out of the thing to framework to do. And we know it better because we have implemented most of the things. So NGO also works under a framework.
Okay.
Money comes, money goes, project grows. So you are not getting sentimental about the project or the beneficiary. You are only about how to. In fact, today anybody who wants to start an NGO, looking at our NGO as a success story, they come and tell that, how do we start? I said, why are you asking? Go and start doing something. No, but how will get the funding? I said, but you don't need funding. But how will we work? Because work only as much as you alone person can do. By your own hand. Oh, so they are working in a startup mode because that is what they have taught. Right? So that is how they want to do social work also in that manner. They don't think that, sweeping, they want to start an NGO, let's say for sweeping or sweepers or something, or cleaning. they don't fathom the fact that you should clean first. And then you figure it out that it can become a big organization about anything and everything about cleaning. you know but they will say, no, first you raise fund, then you make a business plan, then you make how many areas are dirty, then you say how you will clean it, then they will say, oh, what is the high tech for cleaning, what is the best, biggest, costliest machine for cleaning. And what do I say, I mean, it's a circle of narrow thinking, I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.